or just come off of mute. Quick reminder, if you have not messaged either Mr. Colston, Ms. Menke, or myself, please have those cameras on so we can give you all of the PBIS points. At the end of every week, Reynolds, I have to go outside my building and just give random people PBIS points because you guys have so many left over because you're not turning your cameras on. My neighbors keep wondering why I'm knocking on the door trying to give them PBIS points because I have so many left. So let's get those cameras on so that I can give you guys 5 points and you guys can watch a great holiday movie. So let's go over this because I didn't give that many answers in the chat. We know that we cannot do anything with a percentage until we convert it into a decimal, much like we just did in our do now. So we're going to take our 8.5 and divide it by 100. Everybody knows what that is because we just multiplied this same thing. That gives us 0.085. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Then we take our decimal and we multiply it by our given number, which is $66 for our original amount, our subtotal, whatever you want to call it. So can I get at least 5 people? Throw it in the chat for me. What is our sales tax for this meal? Shout out to Taylor. I feel you, Jamar. Shout out to Taylor. That's it. Right now, all I have in my chat is Taylor. Shout out to Damali. There we go. Let's pick it up. Need a few more people. Alrighty, beautiful. So we know that our sales tax on a $66 meal would be $5.61. 5.61. Just a quick reminder of what we just did. We take our sales tax, which was 8.5, we convert it into a decimal, we multiply that by 66, which gives us our sales tax. Always remember, whenever you're dealing with percentages, you have to convert it to a decimal first. Every single time. Alright? So, I'm going to give you guys about 10 seconds to move on. To copy this, not to move on. I'm going to give you 10 seconds to copy this in your notes, and we're going to move on to guided practice number 2. Shout out to everybody who turned those cameras on. I appreciate you. I'm sure my neighbors appreciate you too. We'll be knocking on their door talking about some PBIS points. So shout out to y'all. Not all heroes wear capes. All right. Guided practice number 2. Can I get somebody else to read it for me, please? Just come off of mute and read it.
The sales tax rate in New Mexico is 5.125%. Select all the equations that represent the sales tax. C. You would pay in New Mexico for an item of cost. C.
Alright, so we're going to do this one a little bit differently. Alright? And I'm not going to make any more jokes because apparently Javiana says it. So.
It's okay, and she called me out for laughing at it too, so.
Javiana, aka the Grinch. Jeez.
Yep.
So, let's do this a little bit differently, Reynolds. I want you guys to take 60 seconds and chat me and Miss Menke the equation you would set up. I want to know, what equation will we use to solve this problem? We know that the sales tax rate in New Mexico is 5.125%. We know that the cost of our item is represented by C. So what would we need to do to find our sales tax percentage? Or our sales tax, actual sales tax, I should say. Not our sales tax percentage, my bad. Our actual sales tax. What do we need to do? Throw it in the chat for me. About 40 more seconds. First 5 people that can chat me will get my extra PBIS points today. I had a good joke with that too, but I won't say it. What are we going to do? We know we can't. Okay, Damali. So what are we going to multiply that by, Damali?
Multiply it by the cost.
Yep, perfect. Perfect. Actually, yeah, that's actually a good point. So if you throw it in the chat, but you got your camera off, then you kind of got like this whole like offsetting points thing going on. So you're getting extra points, but you're still losing points. So, you know, turn those cameras on. Alrighty, so let's set up an equation, guys. So we know we have 5.125. That's our sales tax percentage. Cool. So we know in New Mexico, anytime you buy anything other than gas, you're going to have a 5.125% sales tax charge added to it. We don't know what our actual cost per item is because we don't have an item. So we're going to just represent it with C. What's the first thing we need to do to this percentage before we can do any type of equation? What's the first thing we need to do? Somebody let me know. Let me know in the chat. Come off of mute. What's the first thing we need to do? Matter of fact, I want to call on somebody. Let's see. Who haven't I heard from? Shout out to Damali in the chat because she got it right. Renee, what do you think we need to do to this percentage first? Before we can do anything, what do I need to do?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, sure. So we know the sales tax rate is 5.125%. We want to figure out what our sales tax would be for an item that costs C. But before we can do set up any type of equations, what's the first thing that I need to do to this percentage, Renee?
Excellent, Taylor.
Shout out to Javiana. Shout out to Taylor. What do you think, Renee?
Okay. I'm gonna be honest with you. I have no idea.
All right, cool. We're gonna work through it together. So I'm gonna give you a hint, Renee. We need to convert it into something.
Okay.
It begins with a D.
The decimal.
Yeah, there you go. Never sell yourself short. I knew you knew. What are we gonna divide it by, Renee?
100.
100, because that's our whole, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Renee. So Renee got us almost there. We're gonna divide 5.125 by 100, which is gonna give us our decimal of 0.05125. Don't even need to break your calculator out. You know, anytime you're dividing by 100, just move that decimal point over 2 places to the left. So we went 1, 2, we got 0.015, 0.015, geez, 0.05125. Good Lord. Alrighty, so we got our decimal. We know our sales tax is going to be represented by T, and we have our decimal point. So now what am I doing? Am I adding this to my cost? Am I dividing it by the cost, subtracting it from the cost? Throw it in the chat. What do I need to do? What do I need to do to find out what the sales tax would be? There you go, Damali. Shout out to Damali. Truly a math superstar. So we know we have to multiply this. Let's say that C was like our last problem, $66. We know we're going to take our percent change after we convert it to a decimal, and we're going to multiply it by 66. In this case, they didn't give us a number. They just said, let the cost represent C. So we're going to take our C, put it right here, which, well, what do you know? There you go. However, keep in mind that if that's the same thing as this, because that's what we had to do to get our decimal, 5.125 divided by 100. Remember, a fraction is just another way of expressing a part of something just like a decimal. Kind of similar to 1/2 versus 0.5. Same difference. I'm going to give us about 10 seconds to write this down. We're going to move on to our last guided practice. You guys got some work to do. All right? Please make sure you remember whenever you're dealing with percentages, you have to divide it by 100 and convert it into a decimal first. If you remember that and part over whole times 100, you will be good to go for our exit ticket. All right, let's move on. Guided practice number 3. You know what? At this point, Braylon, would you do the honors again?
The sales tax rate and your Uber bill is $58 and you pay $71.92. What percentage of tip did you pay?
You're looking at luxury Uber for this. It's too expensive.
Right. I don't know. They must have took an Uber across state or something, JV. I don't know what's going on here. It's $81 for an Uber. You might as well just save up and buy a car at this point. You spending that much on an Uber. So we know that our Uber bill was $58. So let's just call 58 our subtotal. So our subtotal is $58. We know that after we pay a tip, that jumps all the way to $71.92. So you hopped into the Uber, they were playing all your favorite songs, had a bottle of water in there for you, stopped at every red light, and still got you where you need to go on time. So you left a very handsome tip. It brought our grand total to $71.92. Can somebody raise a hand? I want to hear some ideas. If we want to figure out what percentage of the tip did we pay, we first need to figure out what the actual tip was, right? We can't figure out what the percentage of the tip was if we don't even know what the actual tip was. What's a way that we can figure out how much our tip was? If we have a grand total of $71.92 and our subtotal was $58 before we paid the tip, how can we figure out what the actual tip was itself? Shout out to Bakaya, shout out to Damar. There we go. Right, yeah, exactly. It picked you up in like a Lamborghini or Ferrari or something. Shout out to Damali. Perfect. We need to subtract. So we're going to take our grand total of, you know what, I'm going to keep typing because I'm not feeling this drawing thing today. We're going to take our grand total and we're going to subtract our subtotal of $58 from that. Throw it in the chat. What do you get? You subtract $71.92 from $58. What are we looking at? What is our tip?
Excellent, Jamar.
Somebody come off of mute. Let me know. What is our tip? What are we looking at?
$13.92.
$13.92. Perfect. Thank you, Jamal. All right. So now we have our actual tip. I just want somebody to come off of mute. Throw it in the chat. Everything. Because at this point, I want every single person to tell me how we saw from here. So now we have our tip. We have our subtotal. We want to figure out what percentage did we pay. So what percentage of the subtotal was this tip? How can we figure it out? Give you guys a hint. We've been saying this equation multiple times every single class for like the last week now. How can I solve? There you go, Jamar. Jamar, would you mind coming off of mute and telling me what you just said, man?
I said part divided by whole times 100.
Part over whole, or divided by whole, times 100 equals your percentage. Shout out to Jamar. If you did not know that, and for whatever reason you don't have this written down somewhere, take this moment to write it down, please. This is super important. I'm going to repeat it for some of us who are having a little bit of internet problems. We know in order to figure out our percentage, we need to take our part, divide it by our whole, multiply it by 100 to get our percent. We need some people to throw it in the chat. One person come off of mute and tell me, what's our part in this problem? What's our part? If 58 represents our subtotal, what's our part? Shout out to Javiana, she's got it. Anybody else? What's our part? Subtotal was $58. We paid $13.92 for the tip, which we know